Hello, Jamie.
Hey Jack, how are you?
I'm very good. It's been a while since we've done this.
It is. Are we pretending that we've just been speaking to each other, or we've actually been talking for the last 40 minutes?
Bit of both. It's been a while since we've done a video.
Yeah,
Um, but this definitely was long overdue first. And secondly, obviously, with kind of the new start of like a year after the Open and all that jazz and quarterfinals and all this going on, it's probably the perfect time of year to do this. So we're going to do an annual kind of overview of what to expect if you follow JST train class, aren't we?
yeah. I'm quite excited to do this video. I feel like um, programming is such a unique thing in some respects, but ultimately there's some underlying principles that should ring true in every good program. And hopefully we'll kind of uncover some of those as we're talking through our kind of yearly cycle.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to make clear as well that different programs have their different styles and how they also do things. And I think this is important that people know that this is like our style, and we've found that this has worked really well over the past 10 years, and what has got people the best results that we've worked with as well. So like I say, might not necessarily be a fit for everyone, but for people that like this kind of structure, which we'll go through, like I say, it's worked really well. It's worked really well. Is there anything before we get stuck into this, Jamie, that you want to caveat or make clear before we start?
Yeah, I feel like talking about our like ethos for how we look at programming is hugely important. How I look at it and how I work with you, Jack, and JST athlete is kind of understanding the main principle behind a class program
Mhm.
or what we're actually trying to get out of it. Because I feel like a lot of people get the confusion of what's like what is an athlete plan. So what are these people that are training 90 minutes to 2 hours a day that are potentially like organizing their lives around it versus the person that is your stereotypical member who's maybe 3 to 5 times a week. They're 60 minutes a time. They run in, they do their workout, and then before you know it, we've done our 3 claps, and then they're out in the car on the way home. And that's where our class programming is centered around. It's centered around those people that are your 3 to 5 times per week person. So we're GPP based. We want to make sure people are ready to do everything outside of the gym. We're based at a rugby club, and about 40 minutes ago, I saw one of the members who comes at 6 a.m. He had his 2 kids out in the field because it's the Easter half term, and he was booting the ball around and having a right good laugh. And you're like, that is why the majority of our members do CrossFit. And I don't want us to lose sight of it because myself is like I'd say an avid CrossFit competitor ish. I dabble in it, do the open, try to get to quarterfinals. Jack, obviously, been to the games. Like a lot of our coaches and a lot of box owners are very much engrossed in CrossFit, and it is your livelihood, and you do it 100% of the time. Whereas a lot of our members don't. So we want to make sure that we've got those, and they're probably the people that pay the bills. How many members that are doing a specific athlete plan are at your gym? Less than 5%. The 95% need this GPP style programming. And that's hopefully what we can offer through taking the athlete plan, sieving it through,
Mhm.
picking out all the gold, and then putting it onto a class plan.
I think the one thing I just want to briefly add to that is, as well as accommodating for your members, there's always going to be those competitive people in your gym as well. And I think just making sure there's the opportunity there for them to still remain within your community. That's quite a big thing for me. It's up to the person, whoever's like comes into your gym, how far or how um all in they decide to, go in with CrossFit. And there's always going to be people that want to be athletes, or like Jamie said, you just want to do it so you can kick a rugby ball around the field. So I feel like our method of how we do this does accommodate for all these people. and provides a good base and a good structure for it as well. Right, let's get stuck into the nitty-gritty a little bit more. And I'll probably be talking a little bit more at the start of this, and then Jamie's probably going to sprinkle nuggets on you. So this, as you look at it, is a view of the year. All right, so we've got the CrossFit Games open here, which is kind of our competition peak. I think it's important that most gyms, like all gyms really, get involved in the open. It's a great time of year to bring everyone together. So, and it's good to have a focus for the year as well. So that's kind of like, right, our training is loosely based around this point. All right, so we've got the CrossFit Games open, which is like a competition phase. Coming back, so we've had this period, just had this period of time. We're back here at the start. All right. So this annual structure gives us an opportunity to have a bit more structure throughout the year. So at this point, furthest away from competition, in inverted commas, we work on these general themes. So energy systems, working on an aerobic base a little bit more, lower intensity workouts. All right. So people can recover better. We all know, like, we use our aerobic system day to day right now when we're sitting down, when we're breathing. We want that to be as optimal as possible, and it's important we spend time working on that. And especially this time of year where we're not probably sending every workout, it's important we just spend a little bit more time working on the individual energy systems a little bit more. Coming into a class program, Jamie, I know some people will be like, well, how can we do that in a class setting? Because members just come in and send every workout, don't they?
Yeah. If only it was that easy, right? If we could come in and just do Fran every day, and then that would make us pretty fit. So across the 7-day week, we'll tend to have some structure, and this kind of rings true all throughout the year. We'll tend to have some high and low days. So some days where we're kind of asking you to work hard. There'll be some days where we're asking you to work kind of longer and slower. There'll be some days where we want to kind of look at the neurological aspects, so some skill-based work. So a loosely fitted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is kind of undulating. We can do some strength stuff. We might do some skill work and things like that. Thursday's traditionally what we would consider an active recovery day. And anyone that's kind of in the CrossFit circle, you'll know Thursday's a bit of an easier day, or might be a skill development day, something that I haven't done. Friday and Saturdays tend to be kind of partner and teamy based workouts where we go and get our whiteboard workouts thrown in. And then on our Sunday, we tend to kind of alternate between some longer aerobic stuff, bit of R&R, or some bodybuilding. And I think bodybuilding and single leg work in this first phase, or in the first phase across the year, is kind of more prominent. And then as Jack will kind of continue to talk, you'll see how those specific areas will start to morph into different specific areas.
Exactly as Jamie said, through the week, there's ups and downs. There's going to be harder days. There's going to be days where, you're not pushing things as hard. There's a variety of workouts that we cover, which is really important that we do. So we've got energy systems as one. Then we've got skill work. This is the time of year to practice things on their own a little bit more and to play a little bit more. So giving members a chance to try different techniques, try new things as well. Okay, I think is really important. I think through this first phase that we're going into, there's a couple of opportunities to do that, and for the coach to just kind of guide people through that play as well. So that's really important to do, and refine the skills that we already have now and improve the technique there. Again, moving more efficiently, that links in with movement quality as well. And then obviously strength, when we are stronger, for the most part, it makes other things much, much easier. So if you can, squat 200 kilos compared to someone that can only squat 150 kilos, you can have a much easier time probably doing a squat clean at 120 as an example. So, you know, it's important we spend time working on energy systems, improving strength, improving your movement quality, because this is going to mean a bigger pyramid, okay, which bigger base, sorry, which means we can get a bigger pyramid as we kind of move through the year. Anything else you want to add to what I just said there, Jamie?
No, totally agree. I think a couple of things on the strength thing that kind of ring to me when you said like being stronger helps. Like the CrossFit Thames many moons ago, they had it on their t-shirt: "Stronger people are harder to kill," and I that does ring true. I love that quote. And also, like, to touch on the strength work will vary throughout the year. What we mean by that is we'll have different styles of strength work, and Jack will touch on those. So as a loose one, our first phase will start with some single leg strength work, doubling up as imbalance work, and it kind of sits in the movement quality bucket as well. And then as we kind of go through the season, we'll see each of those phases will complement the next one and complement the next one until we get to the point where we've built some real good foundations, and that bottom of that base is as wide as possible for us to then peak it and then hit heavy cleans and do whatever we need to do. Because again, our members will want to kind of hit the apex. They'll want to do the sport of CrossFit, but then they'll not understand the principles behind doing the basics really well. Do you have a strong enough upper back before you even start front squatting heavy is something that's hugely important. Why are you missing that clean out in front? It's not necessarily leg strength. It might be something like your front rack position. That's where movement quality will put 10 kilos on your clean. And Absolutely. If people started to think about it in that respect, all of a sudden we've got easy wins. We've got members wanting to do movement quality work. So again, having that conversation as a coach will be hugely important, because this is the non-glam end of the season, isn't it? It's the one where no one wants to do sets of 20 dumbbell lunges for heavy load. But when you're in the season and you're hanging out in the open workout and you're doing lunges and you're like, "Oh, I've done a million of these already," you'll be thanking your legs.
It's true. This is usually the part of the year where, in the grand scheme of things, it looks much further away from CrossFit than what it is as we obviously get to that business end. But remembering that this is a GPP program and we're accommodating for people that want to do CrossFit, like that's always in the back of our mind. And we've got to make sure that, right, people want to do this because they want to do CrossFit. It's fun. So we make sure that we find that balance. To give everyone the easiest picture of this and how it might evolve over the year, without taking forever in a day explaining it, because we could go into each individual area. But like Jamie said, for example here, strength work, two key things that we need to do probably to start off with: even out imbalances to make sure members aren't getting injured, but also build a little bit of muscle mass as well. You know, if we have that bit more muscle mass, that's likely to mean that we've got more muscle to be able to get stronger as well. So it's one of them where it is important to do. How you put across that to your members is, you know, up to yourself, because I know some females are like, "Oh, I don't want to put too much muscle on my upper body." And when you say a little bit of muscle mass, it's usually 1 or 2 kilos, which it's not too noticeable, and it just is what it is. You know, if people want to start doing strict pull-ups to be able to do bar muscle-ups, it's kind of got to be done. And you've got to
I've been trying for years to get muscles on my shoulders. I've been lifting them as heavy weights as possible. I still haven't got it. So, like, that's what I genuinely have that conversation with our male and female members. Like, it takes time. Like, you're not going to do one session and then all of a sudden, like, be 10 kilos stronger.
It's true. It's
really like true. We're going to have to do the amount of squat sessions I've done across my training age. I've probably had just as many as hot dinners. Like, there's so many, and it's still a continued process. So it's kind of getting our gyms and our members to understand, like, enjoy the journey and the process. Like, you're in it, you enjoy the workout, you have a great environment. It's a positive environment that you're coming into as a member. Have a laugh along the way as well. Like, Don't worry about
Absolutely.
chasing that goal.
Yes.
Just enjoy the session, and then the work will come.
Absolutely. So we have that single leg and hypertrophy work phase to start off with. So that's, again, building these foundations. Once we've done that and we've spent, 5 to 10 weeks working on that kind of area, time to bring in the bilateral work again. So people will be like, when are we squatting by this point? And it's like, right, it's time to start squatting again, funnily enough. So again, continuing to just as well stay in that slightly higher rep range, stay in that hypertrophy rep range, because that also means that members can get in a few more reps and develop the skill of it as well. All right. So we've gone to kind of bilateral hypertrophy work. And then after that, we drop the rep ranges. We start to work on strength a little bit more. So we're working on strength at this point. We're getting stronger, back squat, deadlift, all that sort of stuff, presses. We're getting stronger, which is, again, going to make everything else so much easier come down the line. All right. So we've worked on the raw strength there. And then once we got to that point, right, we've got stronger. We know we've got stronger in all these movements. Now it's time to pass these on to the weightlifting movements. Great. Your clean and jerk and your snatches coming up. You've spent the time putting the work in. You've got stronger in the raw lifts, the slow lifts. Time to pass it on to the weightlifting movements. Those numbers go up. Great. We're in this period now where things are starting to get a bit more specific. So we've made these gains, right? It's time to start to put it in a little bit more of a CrossFit setting. So cycling barbells, doing a rep every 30 seconds, every 20 seconds, doing more touch and go work. All the exciting barbell stuff that people say, I struggle with moving a barbell in the fatigue. Well, because you've got stronger, that makes it easier. And because we're practicing a bit more endurance work now, again, it's getting a little bit easier. So we're starting to get a little bit more specific. And then once we've got that point of building up that endurance in isolation, so we've not mixed any other movements in, maybe too much at this point. We might have done in workouts because, again, keeping in mind who it's for, it's GPP program. There'll be times when we do touch on all these elements, but maybe not quite as much. When we get to this point here, it's like, right, we might put more of an emphasis on moving a barbell under a bit more fatigue. So you might do rowing into cleans as an example. All right. And that's the focus, is being able to hit more reps in this period of time after doing, other work, and blending the movements like CrossFit workouts would look, but more of maybe in an interval format where you can rest, you can maintain quality before we get into this pre-comp phase where it looks more specific. So we need to make sure we can lift heavy as a one-off. We can lift heavy under fatigue. So with all this preparation beforehand, that sets us up nicely so that, right, we've had a good full year almost to build. We can start to put this into practice, into really what we do, and what we started doing CrossFit more. So there's actually, this period of time here, like, that's where you're going to see more CrossFit in a week, a little bit more than maybe this period earlier in the year where it's like, it is still CrossFit. We disguise it as CrossFit, but it's almost like a little less specific. It sounds really like blurry, a bit grey, but there is method in the madness.
Let me touch on that then, to kind of give the box owners a bit of an idea on how a week would look at the start of the year versus how it would look more competition or open style. So at the start of the phase, the start of the yearly cycle, we'll pull out some specific areas from the athlete plan. And for instance, in our first phase, we have a single leg program and we have some clean work. We'll also have some upper body pressing. Now we'll see those 3 sessions repeat each week. And they'll be linearly progressed across a block. So we'll try and see them. They won't occur on the same day. So they will be slid across the week, just because obviously the returning nature of our members, they don't come in every day. We might want to give everyone a little bit of a touch. So we've got those in, and then we'll still have regular CrossFit kind of dotted around. As we get closer to the season, we might see that interference work, but still linearly progressed. So like Jack said, the rowing into the cleans, we might see that session occur every week. But again, it's not specifically just on the clean. It might be rowing and the cleans, okay, biking and the cleans, running and the cleans, double under and the cleans. So we've got that specifics. And then once we say get into competition phase, it's about using those open workouts as our springboard for kind of pushing progress. We take the open workouts, we either use them or we adjust them, and then we put people under that kind of real competition pressure, because there's no substitute for doing kind of time under tension work for months and months and months, and then you get an open workout. And how many people struggled to do a ring muscle up at the end of that 23.1 this year?
Yeah.
It's like everyone that was just doing ring muscle up EMOMs on their own and not blending those capacities and not doing fatigue work are going to get found out. Fortunately enough, on the athlete plan, we had that workout about a month before.
Yeah, we had,
so we had like direct information within like a training cycle to go, right, I knew exactly what I was going to feel like when I got there, and I wasn't going to feel very good, so I was expecting it. Versus if I'd have just done my ring muscle ups on their own, I would have kind of been like, oh, I could bang out sets of 5. But I knew straight away, I'm a normal member, I'm not an athlete. I was like, okay, be a bit smarter about that.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you a bit of an overview of how the week will look. You'll see similarities a couple of times a week that will slide along and progress. But then ultimately, that GPP style is what we are. So we won't, one caveat on that at the start is that if we see single leg strength work, we might not see that many lunges in workouts.
Yeah.
So there are subtleties to it. For instance, we might be looking at some tempo clean and jerks. That means that we might not have clean and jerks in the week in its purest sense. We might not use Grace as a workout, the 30 clean and jerks, but we might use Isabel. That might be a workout in its own right that we might use. So again, they're things to look out for. And I know you guys make little adjustments, but hopefully that's given you an idea on what you would see.
Love that. Thanks very much, Jamie. Hope that was insightful for people to get a bit more of a broader view of how our class program, rolls through the year and what to expect, and understand it with more of an understanding. You're going to be able to apply this better to your members and why working on certain things at certain times of the year as well. Cheers, Jamie.
No problem, Jack. Thank you.